Willem Dafoe, one of the all-time greats, an actor who always makes a movie better for his participation in it. He's played all kinds of roles throughout the decades, heroes, villains, batshit crazy sidekicks, and no matter how big or small the film, no matter how big or small the role, Willem Dafoe always leaves an impression. Always gives us something creative and unique and memorable, and with more than 150 acting credits to date, he sure has enriched the world of cinema for all of us. But despite his enormous talent and all the acclaim he's received from critics and audiences and awards voters throughout the decades, there's something that continues to elude Willem Dafoe, the Oscar, of course. He's received 4 nominations to date, 3 in the supporting actor category and 1 in the leading actor category, but can you believe it? He still hasn't won. How is this possible? Why does he come up short every time he's nominated? Has there been a time where he came close to a victory? And when was there a time he should have been nominated but wasn't? My name is Brian Rowe, this is the awards contender, and it's time for Willem Dafoe and the Elusive Oscar. As always, let's start at the beginning. Willem James Dafoe was born on July 22, 1955 in Appleton, Wisconsin to mother Muriel and father William. After graduating high school, he studied drama at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, leaving a year and a half in for better opportunities, which included a move to New York City and working with the avant-garde theater troupe, the Performance Group. His film debut arrived in 1980's infamous Heaven's Gate, in which his role was almost completely removed. His first significant role in a film arrived in 1981's The Loveless, which also marked the feature film directorial debut of Kathryn Bigelow. In the mid-1980s, Dafoe's star was on the rise in films like 1984's Streets of Fire and 1985's To Live and Die in L.A., but his first major breakthrough arrived in 1986's Platoon, one of that year's most celebrated films. Dafoe stood out big time in the large ensemble Vietnam War film as the compassionate and heroic Sergeant Elias.
What happened today is just the beginning. We're gonna lose this war.
Platoon, directed by Oliver Stone, gave Dafoe his biggest exposure yet, the movie a major hit with critics and audiences. At the Golden Globe Awards, the sole acting nomination was for Tom Berenger in supporting actor, no sign of Dafoe in sight, but then Dafoe was nominated for male lead at the Film Independent Spirit Awards, and at the Oscars, the Academy spread the wealth by rewarding both Berenger and Dafoe nominations in Best Supporting Actor. At the 59th Academy Awards on March 30th, 1987, the 2 men from Platoon were up against Denham Elliott for A Room with a View, Dennis Hopper for Hoosiers, and Michael Caine for Hannah and Her Sisters, who ultimately won, not present at the ceremony that night, infamously, I would say, because he was shooting one of the worst movies ever made, Jaws: The Revenge. Now, Michael Caine gives a wonderful performance in Woody Allen's dramedy Hannah and Her Sisters, but the question is, did Dafoe have a chance to win instead? I would argue Dafoe for Platoon is surprisingly the closest he's ever come to a victory. As we'll talk about, the other 3 times he was Oscar nominated, there was a clear frontrunner in the category he just never had a chance to overcome. But that first time around for Platoon, he was definitely battling out second place with his co-star Berenger, given that his movie won 4 Oscars that night, including Best Director for Stone and Best Picture of the Year. Anytime you're in the Best Picture winner, your chances at a win in acting goes up considerably. I do think Berenger and Dafoe probably split some votes, which did hurt Dafoe in the long run, but I still think even if Dafoe had been the lone acting nominee for Platoon in the category, he still would have lost to Caine. Hannah and Her Sisters was very popular that year. It also won Best Supporting Actress for Diane Wiest and Best Original Screenplay for Woody Allen. Caine was on his 4th Oscar nomination without a win, and Dafoe was still very new to the cinema scene, but still, this recognition from the Academy so early in his career was an amazing feat, and Dafoe was going to continue proving he was one of the finest actors of his generation. Now, it took a long while to get to Willem Dafoe's second Oscar nomination. He spent the next 14 years building up a huge list of film credits, both impressive and not so impressive. Soon after Platoon, we got 4 of the impressive variety, with performances in Oliver Stone's Born on the 4th of July, David Lynch's Wild at Heart, Alan Parker's Mississippi Burning, and especially Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ, where Dafoe played Jesus Christ. I don't know about you, but I'm surprised to this day that Dafoe didn't get more awards momentum for The Last Temptation of Christ, especially since Scorsese got an Oscar nomination in Best Director. Also, his wonderfully bizarre performance in Wild at Heart would have been a cool Oscar nomination too, given that Diane Ladd got into Best Supporting Actress that year, and Dafoe received a Film Independent Spirit nomination. That was quite a run of movies there, Dafoe's respect in the industry growing with each passing year. Throughout the 1990s, he showed up in tons of big films like Clear and Present Danger, The Boondock Saints, and The English Patient, the latter of which won the Oscars, of course, for Best Picture and Best Director, and got Dafoe his first SAG Award nomination as part of the cast. But get this, the only real individual nominations he got for movies in the 90s were the not-so-impressive kind. Yep, Razzie Award nominations for acting alongside Madonna in Body of Evidence, as well as Sandra Bullock and Jason Patric in Speed 2 Cruise Control. Thankfully, I guess, he didn't win either one. I mean, he's very good in many films that decade. He gives a terrific performance in 1992's Light Sleeper, directed by Paul Schrader, but that film was too small to gain any awards traction. He's also great in 1994's Tom and Viv, where he plays Tom, and his co-star Miranda Richardson as Viv received an Oscar nomination for Best Actress, but again, Dafoe was overlooked. He's excellent in 1998's Affliction, which earned Nick Nolte an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, and James Coburn an Oscar win for Best Supporting Actor, and yet again, Dafoe was passed over. When the hell was this guy going to be recognized by the Academy again? Well, right around the time he gave us his memorable turns in both The Boondock Saints and American Psycho, Willem Dafoe received the role of a lifetime in 2000's Shadow of the Vampire, about the filming of the classic silent horror film Nosferatu and the way its star Max Schreck, played by Dafoe, took his role of a vampire a little too seriously.
This clipped girl. I'll eat her later.
Talk about an impressive, revelatory performance, a stunning transformation for the great Willem Dafoe that was not going to go unnoticed that award season. Shadow of the Vampire, also starring John Malkovich as the famous director F.W. Murnau, made a huge splash at the 2000 Cannes Film Festival before opening in limited release that December for awards consideration and going wider in January. The majority of critics adored the movie, many singling out Dafoe's performance as one of his best, the Los Angeles Film Critics and Phoenix Film Critics awarding Dafoe Best Supporting Actor. Things started well for him at the televised award ceremonies, Dafoe receiving his very first Golden Globe Award nomination in early 2001 for Shadow of the Vampire, where he lost to Benicio del Toro for his remarkable performance in Traffic. Best Supporting Actor that season was very crowded and competitive, with Del Toro becoming an immediate frontrunner, winning at SAG in Lead Actor, surprisingly enough, then at BAFTA in Supporting Actor. At the 73rd Academy Awards on March 25, 2001, Dafoe for Shadow of the Vampire was up against Jeff Bridges for The Contender, Albert Finney for Aaron Brockovich, Joaquin Phoenix for Gladiator, and Benicio del Toro for Traffic, the latter winning, I would say, in a landslide. Dafoe's performance is a great one, but sadly, I do think he was in 4th place that season and never had a significant shot at an Oscar victory. Joaquin Phoenix won Best Supporting Actor at Critics' Choice and was in that year's Best Picture Oscar winner, so I would put him in 3rd place. In 2nd had to be the legendary Albert Finney, who won Best Supporting Actor at SAG for Aaron Brockovich and was on his 5th Oscar nomination without a win in his long and celebrated career. Hell, Jeff Bridges might have been ahead of Dafoe too, given that he was on his 4th Oscar nomination without a victory. So yes, Dafoe was very much just happy to be there. His film also recognized that night in the Best Makeup category. Overall, I would say it was still a good season for him, getting in at Golden Globes and SAG, that marking his first individual nomination at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, and he did win one big televised prize that season, the Film Independent Spirit Award for Best Supporting Actor. Here's an excerpt from his speech.
If I do this quick, do I get a free TV? The costume and the makeup were everything.
So where would Willem Dafoe go from here? Well, Marvel, of course. Dafoe playing one of his most recognizable screen characters as Green Goblin in 2002's Spider-Man, directed by Sam Raimi. No Oscar nominations would come for that performance, obviously, but he's fantastic in the film, and he did get an MTV Movie Award nomination for Best Villain. In the 2000s, Dafoe also joined the world of Wes Anderson, appearing in The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou and Fantastic Mr. Fox, but in terms of awards recognition, there wasn't much that decade outside of Shadow of the Vampire. His turn in 2002's Autofocus got him a few Critics Group nominations for Best Supporting Actor, and Lars Van Trier's Antichrist got him some recognition internationally, but not much in the United States. Willem Dafoe continued being prolific well into the 2010s, having a remarkable 2014 with appearances in John Wick, The Fault in Our Stars, A Most Wanted Man, and The Grand Budapest Hotel. What a run that was. But despite racking up a ton of film credits, nothing was getting him anywhere close to, as Jamie Lee Curtis calls it, the season of shiny things. Nothing, that is, until 2017's The Florida Project. Sean Baker's follow-up to his indie breakthrough Tangerine was an immediate critical success upon its premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, the slice-of-life story telling of the summer adventures of a 6-year-old living in a budget motel called Magic Castle near Walt Disney World. Dafoe plays Bobby, the manager of the motel.
When your friend puts you in charge of her kid, that kid becomes your responsibility. You ain't taking responsibility.
Dafoe was the only recognizable actor in the independent production, and he in every way became the awards face for this movie. His acclaimed performance got in almost everywhere except, strangely, the Film Independent Spirit Awards. He won Best Supporting Actor from tons, and I mean tons, of film critics groups. Are you ready for this? He won Best Supporting Actor from Atlanta, Austin, Boston, Chicago, Columbia, Denver, Detroit, Georgia, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas City, Los Angeles, New York, North Carolina, San Francisco, Seattle, Toronto, and Utah. Like, just frickin' wow. He was clearly the critics' darling and Best Supporting Actor that year, and all of that support and enthusiasm was going to get him very far at the televised awards. Dafoe ultimately became the Florida Project's only nomination at Golden Globes and SAG. He got his first ever individual Critics' Choice Award nomination for the film, which at that ceremony also got into Best Picture and won Best Young Actor or Actress for Brooklyn Prince. He received for the Florida Project what is still to date his only BAFTA Award nomination, and then at the 90th Academy Awards on March 4th, 2018, Dafoe was nominated in Best Supporting Actor up against Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World, and Sam Rockwell, who won the Oscar that night for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Despite all the critics' love for Dafoe that season, he simply had no shot in winning the Academy Award on his third try for 2 main reasons. One, it's very hard to win an acting prize at the Oscars when you are the film's only nomination, and that was definitely the case for Dafoe. And 2, Rockwell was just dominating that season in Best Supporting Actor. He won at Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG, BAFTA, Film Independent Spirit, and the Oscars. He completely swept, leaving everyone else in the dust. But that's not to say Willem Dafoe had to wait very long until his 4th Oscar nomination. It showed up just 1 year later, and it marked his first nomination at the Academy Awards in the lead actor category for playing Vincent van Gogh in Julian Schnabel's 2018 period drama At Eternity's Gate.
Because my vision is closer to the reality of the world, I can make people feel what it's like to be alive.
Making its premiere at the Venice Film Festival, At Eternity's Gate received lots of praise from critics. Dafoe's central performance, called a tour de force, Now, this film didn't have much of an impact on the box office, kind of as expected, and Dafoe didn't pile up the Critics Awards this time the way he had the previous year for the Florida Project. He also didn't get in at all the big televised award ceremonies, nominated in Best Actor at Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, but missing at both SAG and BAFTA. Considering that the film was never a serious awards contender in any other category but Best Actor, I would argue Dafoe getting in at the Oscars was somewhat of a surprise. At the 91st Academy Awards on February 24, 2019, Dafoe was most definitely in 5th place in the Best Actor category, up against Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Viggo Mortensen for Green Book, and Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, the latter winning the Oscar after, unbelievably, I would add, sweeping most of that season from Golden Globes to SAG and BAFTA, only Bale breaking his momentum when he won Best Actor at Critics' Choice. More than ever before, Dafoe was just happy to be nominated at the Oscars that year, just barely taking a slot that could have gone to John David Washington for BlacKkKlansman or Ethan Hawke for First Reformed. Dafoe had to be thanking his lucky stars that there was never a consensus that season for the 5th place Best Actor slot, and such allowed him to slip in there after missing at both SAG and BAFTA. Honestly, I think it's fine if we just put that Best Actor race behind us. Now, unfortunately, as of this recording, Willem Dafoe has yet to receive his 5th Oscar nomination, although he just came very close to getting one a few months ago, and was also in the conversation a year after At Eternity's Gate for his chilling performance in Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse, which got a well-deserved Best Cinematography Oscar nomination, along with a Best Supporting Actor nomination for Dafoe at Critics' Choice, and a win at the Film Independent Spirit Awards. Here's an excerpt from that speech.
It takes two to tango. He's not here, but I share this with Rob Pattinson. Remember, it's bad luck to kill a seabird.
Ultimately, The Lighthouse was just too much of a weird, surreal genre movie to get Dafoe's performance into Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars, but he was probably hovering around 7th or 8th place. Since The Lighthouse, this guy has truly been more prolific than ever. He reunited with Eggers for The Northman. He's shown up in 2 more Wes Anderson movies. He's in Nightmare Alley. He returned as Green Goblin in Spider-Man No Way Home. He has been consistently great the last few years, but easily the closest Dafoe has come to his 5th Oscar nomination was for Poor Things, for his remarkable performance as the disfigured Godwin Baxter. He is simply phenomenal in this movie, and the award season battle for Best Supporting Actor between Dafoe and Mark Ruffalo was an exciting one to see play out. At the Golden Globes, they were both nominated. At Critics' Choice, only Ruffalo was nominated, but then at SAG, only Dafoe was nominated and not Ruffalo. And then at BAFTA, neither Dafoe nor Ruffalo was there. What the hell was going on? Who was going to get the Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor for Poor Things? I still thought it was possible both were going to get in, but toward the end there, it did seem like it was going to be one or the other. That SAG nomination for Dafoe seemed more prominent than the Critics' Choice nomination for Ruffalo, but Ruffalo's performance at the end of the day was just too funny and original to ignore, and thus it was Ruffalo who got in at the Oscars, and Dafoe, who was easily 6th place, just barely missed, which is unfortunate. Which is very sad, but come on, let's think positive here. I still think Willem Dafoe's 5th Oscar nomination is coming sooner than we think. Maybe not for anything this year, 2024. As impressive a run he's having right now with appearances in Kinds of Kindness, Beetlejuice, Saturday Night, and Nosferatu, I don't see any major awards attention coming to him for any of these performances. Although, wouldn't it be cool for him to receive another Oscar nomination for a film about Nosferatu? At this moment, Dafoe has all of those movies, plus 2 other films in post-production and countless others in pre-production. The guy just keeps working, keeps collaborating with amazing directors, keeps taking on dynamic, original stories, keeps delivering absolutely spectacular performances, And I have to believe, we all have to, that Willem Dafoe is too good of an actor to never win a Golden Globe Award, a Critics' Choice Award, a SAG Award, a BAFTA Award, and yes, certainly yes, the Academy Award. The right role and the right timing, I very much believe, is still in the cards for him, and trust me, the day hopefully soon that the one and only Willem Dafoe finally wins his elusive Oscar, I am going to be thrilled and relieved and cheering, most definitely cheering, at the top of my lungs. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Willem Dafoe's 4 Oscar nominations? Do you think he's ever going to win? We'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.